Here in Wiltshire, a 1,000-year-old church, which I've been to in Amesbury, is under threat of closure due to problems with the roof, which could cost around £250,000 to get sorted. As a Grade 1 listed building, they don't get the funding for repairs from the Church of England. Reverend Heather Brearley and fundraiser at the church, Mark Verbennen, has given me a tour of their crumbling church building.
Welcome. This is St Mary and St Mella Church, the Abbey Church of Amesbury. It's stood here, parts of it have stood here for over 1,000 years.
Wow, it's a beautiful entrance actually as you come in, and so tight to the town centre as well. It's almost a sort of hidden gem, Mark, isn't it really?
It is. It's the jewel and the crown of the Amesbury landscape and community, and we need to do everything we can to kind of preserve its legacy and continue it for future generations.
Yes, actually, Heather, as we walk down through here into the main part of the church, we're actually in the sort of older part of the building now, aren't we?
We are, yes. There's a church that's been stood here since Saxon times, and this building dates from over 1,000 years ago. There is evidence that a Queen of England is buried here.
Wow.
Queen Eleanor of Provence, who I believe was married to Henry III, who is buried in Westminster Abbey. So it does have a royal connection to this building and a huge historical significance for this area. It's a Grade 1 listed building, and obviously the parts that are very old are now needing care. Generations before us have looked after this building and cared for it, and it's our turn now.
But it's a thankless task at some points to actually do that as we walk round to, I suppose what you could say is that the crux of the issue. Mark, just describe where we are now.
So we're in the middle of the church here, and as we look up over the centre part, we can see the exposed wooden beams, which are over 500 years old. But if you look carefully, you can see that they are very much now in need of care and attention. And above that, the lead roof on top, which is over 100 years old itself, is no longer watertight. And it's letting through a lot of water, and you can see the water damage all over. And we need to do, a lot of work up there, a lot of sadly expensive work to kind of make this now structurally sound.
It's a huge space as well you got here, Heather. Absolutely lovely. That almost looks like sort of bed heads across the roof there, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And it is a huge space, and it is a space that's used regularly. The school used this building for their services each term, and it's packed. Over Easter, we had hundreds of children and their families in here because we can accommodate those numbers. It's a large space.
Could you imagine this church, if the worst case scenario and you couldn't raise the money happened, being closed by the end of the year?
Well, that would just be a tragedy. It is the only Anglican church in Amesbury, and it is a beautiful building that has stood here for such a long time. We must save it. There's no other alternative. We have to raise the money, and we have to replace that roof.
You're not that far off breaking to six figures in terms of what you've raised, but that's still quite a long way to go, because it could be $250,000, maybe even more.
Yeah, so we're kind of looking at the $250,000 now, but as Heather said, once we take that lead roof off, we don't know what we're going to find under there. We could find something that easily adds 100,000 or so. So for now, we're aiming for that $250,000, but with the potential it could sadly go higher.
I mean, are there moments when you've actually sort of thought to yourself, this isn't going to happen, or have you always had the faith that you will find the money?
Oh, 100% have the faith that we will find the money. It's been a bit trickier than we thought it was going to be, but we will raise those funds and we will save this building.
If you want to help them, the Friends of St Mary and St Mella have got the Amesbury May Fair going on Saturday next week from 12 to 4 in the church, with loads going on. Games, duck racing, barbecue events, disco, face painting, bouncy castle, and the Amesbury Bake Off as well, which looks fab.